On the day of the wedding, Xia Yanli's white moonlight came back. She came to our wedding with her family of 3 and, during a break, revealed the secret that I had been asked to keep all those years ago. She said that she came this time because she didn't want to leave any regrets in her youth. At that time, it was just before the college entrance examination. She was going abroad to treat her leg and asked me not to tell Xia Yanli, for fear of affecting his college entrance examination. After Xia Yanli learned the truth, he thought that I had deliberately tried to break them up. Before walking into the auditorium, he grabbed my neck and cursed, "So all your scheming was for today, I won't let you have your way." During the scuffle, I was pushed down the stairs, the broken glass fragments pierced into the main artery of my neck, and I bled to death. When I woke up again, I was back on the day when the white moonlight asked me to keep her secret. 1. In a drowsy state, I was shaken awake by Ji Songning. "Zi, Mom said she's bought the plane tickets, she's taking me abroad for treatment tomorrow." I looked up at the wall clock. It was 1:30 in the morning. Then I looked down at the narrow bed in front of me. Ever since Ji Songning came to live with us, I had given her my room. My bed was made by laying a cooling chair flat. Mom said it would only be for a few days. But I had been making do on this cooling chair from the second year of high school until the end of the third year. I suddenly came to my senses. How wonderful fate is. The intense pain in my neck and the feeling of suffocation and panic due to excessive blood loss seemed to still linger in my perception, and my breathing suddenly became rapid. Ji Songning seemed dissatisfied that I didn't respond to her in time. She reached out and slapped my shoulder hard, saying, "Zhou Zi, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me?" I came to my senses and met her eyes that looked so self-righteous. I raised my hand and slapped her hard. The crisp sound of the slap was particularly abrupt in the quiet room. Tomorrow is the first day of the college entrance examination, and she is so self-centered, only thinking about herself. In my previous life, I was so stupid that I endured it. I patiently listened to her negative emotions for over an hour and finally took the first exam with a dizzy head. It was she who asked me to keep the secret that she was going abroad. She said that it didn't matter if I didn't tell Xia Yanli for a while, and I shouldn't delay his college entrance examination. Anyway, he would know about it eventually. Since she said that, a normal person would naturally keep quiet, we all thought that the matter was over, and later she stayed abroad all the time, experiencing love, getting married, and having children. Xia Yanli and I got together in the third year after she went abroad. It was Xia Yanli who pursued me. Even before the wedding, she sent me a text message to wish me well, but then she showed up at my wedding and reminisced about their youth with the man who was about to become my husband. She judged me. The person who had once kept her secret for a day, was the plane grounded, or did all the communication facilities in the world fail for the two of them? The fact that they didn't end up together was all my fault. Did I make Xia Yanli pursue me? Did I make them stop contacting each other after she went abroad? Did I cut off all their means of communication? Did I make Ji Songning seamlessly move on to fall in love, get married, and have children? 2. After Ji Songning was slapped by me, she was stunned for only a moment before she suddenly flew into a rage. "Zhou Zi, you're fucking crazy, how dare you hit me?" I stood up. And before she could react, I slapped her again. "I hit you, so what? Do I need to pick a special day for it?" Her leg was seriously injured, and she could only half drag it, unable to exert any strength at all. Soon, I pinned her to the ground and beat her. I really had endured her for too long. Ji Songning is my uncle's daughter. Her parents divorced when she was very young. My mom said she was pitiful and asked me to be more tolerant of her. She lived in my home from the second grade of primary school until she graduated from primary school. Those 4 years were a complete nightmare for me. It was as if I was her personal maid, a 24-hour nanny. Even though we were only half a year apart in age, it was my fault when Ji Songning didn't hand in her homework. I was selfish and only cared about myself and not about her. When Ji Songning fought with her classmates and the parents were called, it was my fault because I didn't stop her. When Ji Songning stole money, it was my fault. I was jealous of her and told our parents. There were countless such examples. Until she was picked up by her mother after graduating from primary school, I thought the nightmare was over. But then, in high school, she came back again, and the nightmare returned. Moreover, since my uncle had passed away by then, my mom became even more protective of Ji Songning. She regarded Ji Songning as a precious jewel. She thought Ji Songning was very pitiful, that she had no one to take care of her, and she wanted to compensate her and keep this last bit of bloodline for her younger brother. and she imposed this responsibility on me as well. Any matter related to Ji-sungning was once again linked to me, and I had a greater responsibility for her than her legal guardians. It was like she, who was less than 158 centimeters tall, insisted on being a motorcycle girl. When she rode the motorcycle, her feet couldn't even touch the ground, and as expected, she broke her leg. The doctor said she might be lame for the rest of her life, but my mom thought it was my fault, that I didn't take good care of her. She whipped me with a clothes hanger that day and broke 3 of them. My arm still hurts when I raise it even now. Damn it, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. I continued to slap her. After a few slaps, her face swelled up. At this moment, my parents finally came in. Ji-sungning's biological mother couldn't stand living in our shabby house and stayed in a nearby hotel. Maybe Ji-sungning couldn't bear to part with her 24-hour personal nanny. She still came to cause trouble on the last night. My mom pulled me up and pushed me hard. I didn't stand firm and hit my head directly on the nearby cabinet. I reached out and touched my head, and my hand was covered in blood. She seemed not to have expected it to be so serious and was stunned for a moment, saying, "Josie, what are you going crazy for in the middle of the night?" She really hasn't changed at all from what I remembered. No matter what the situation, she would never stand by my side. All kinds of grievances from my previous life and this life came flooding back. I went crazy on the spot. I wiped the blood on my forehead with both hands, smearing it all over my face. I frantically pulled my hair and shouted, "Yes, I'm crazy. I'm a madman. You guys drove me crazy. Did I ask you to give birth to me? I'm going to take the college entrance examination tomorrow." And she woke me up in the middle of the night just to tell me her stupid love story. I'm not even allowed to refuse, right? What? Is your younger brother's daughter somehow superior? Am I just meant to be her slave and nanny? It's not that I'm inferior. It's because I was born to someone like you that I'm treated as inferior. I ranted on and on, leaving my mom stunned. She held her precious niece with both hands. She dared not look me in the eye and said, "Mom didn't mean that. It's just that Ningning is still a patient now. Why are you arguing with her?" "Oh, come on, how dare I? How dare this second-class citizen in the family argue with Mom's noble and beloved niece? Maybe I'm not your biological child, but even if I'm not, you should have some conscience. I'm taking the college entrance examination tomorrow. Can you please show some kindness? I'm begging your family." "What do you mean by your family? Aren't you part of our family? You really know how to talk," my mom said and was about to hit me, but I suddenly stepped back, cowed out and bowed at lightning speed, and kept repeating in my mouth, "Please show some kindness, I'm begging you." This was what my mom often did to me in the past. Once I started complaining that she treated Ji-sungning better than me, she would either beat her chest and cry, saying that I was an ungrateful wretch, or kneel down to me and say, "It's all my fault. I gave birth to you with a delicate body but a servant's fate. I can't give you a good life. You can go to someone else's home." Where could a child under 10 years old go? I could only stand there and let her finish her performance and bear all her negative emotions. My dad finally spoke up at this moment. He dragged me up and said, "Josie, it's the middle of the night. How long are you going to keep making a scene?" I looked up at him and suddenly laughed. "Dad, it's great. I thought you could actually talk. Otherwise, I would have thought my dad knew how to be invisible in this family." He was so mocked by me that he didn't know what to say for a moment. He wanted to get angry but looked at the clock that was almost 2 o'clock. In the end, he just took my mom and the others out and left a sentence. "You have the college entrance examination tomorrow. Go to bed early." I had a cold expression and didn't say anything. After they left, I locked the door with a bang. 3. There was no way I could sleep now. Even if I slept until dawn, I wouldn't be able to take the exam tomorrow. Before I was reborn, it had been 7 years since the end of the college entrance examination. I'm really annoyed. Who wants to go back to this time? Couldn't I have come back after the exam? I really can't stand it. But if I don't do well in the exam, those two won't have it easy either. In my previous life, they said I had delayed the two of them, right? In this life, I'll be a good person to the end and fulfill their wishes. As for whether Xia Yanli will see it or not, that's up to fate. To be honest, my neck still hurts now. If I wasn't afraid of attracting too much attention, I would call him right away. I would tell him to hurry up, that his white moonlight was going abroad. Or else I would immediately transform into a Trisolaran and use physical and mental magic to obstruct their peerless love. But in the middle of the night, I just posted an insignificant update on QQ Space. My broken phone was almost falling apart. It was the phone that Ji-sungning had broken. and my mom gave it to me out of desperation. I used my living expenses to save up for a long time to fix it. Woken up in the middle of the night by a crazy woman to listen to her peerless love story. The crazy woman thinks that since she's going abroad tomorrow, the plane might be grounded after she goes abroad, and then she won't be able to see the crazy man. After posting it, I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Maybe I had never stood up for myself like this in my previous life. After venting, I slept soundly until dawn. I felt much more relaxed. When I turned on my phone, Xia Yanli's calls hadn't stopped since last night. Damn it, great. I hope he performs even worse than me today. The former Zhou Ziyi is already dead. The one who's back now is Zhou Niu Hulu Dark Twisted Ziyi. Looking at his angry expression, my good mood increased by 100. Zhou Ziyi, what on earth is going on? What's wrong with Songning? Zhou Ziyi, you should have some basic manners, right? What do you mean by that status update you posted? Are you so malicious that you deliberately want to mess up someone's college entrance examination? There were one message after another, and it made me want to puke just looking at them. Why didn't I realize before that he seemed not to even know the words? Or is it that I'm just the bug in their peerless love story and they have to drag me into it, and they even ask me what I mean? Isn't it obvious? Am I your father? Do I have to answer all your questions? What responded to me was a phone call that came through quickly. Zhou Ziyi. My name could actually be pronounced with such gritted teeth. What do you want from your father? Making so many calls in the middle of the night. Didn't your father teach you any manners? So you came to your father here. Zhou Ziyi, my patience has its limits. Slap. I hung up the phone directly. You think you're so important. What patience has its limits? Has Xia Yanli always been this crazy? Apart from the fact that he killed me in my previous life, I feel like being with him is like having a criminal record. The phone rang again persistently. After thinking about it, I answered it. Zhou Ziyi, where is Songning? Who are you talking to? Do I owe you something? Why should I care about where she is? And why should I tell you? Zhou Ziyi, even though I don't know how we offended you, please tell me. Okay, this is really important to me. Begging me. Is this how you beg someone? How about you call me dad? I can't be bothered by you every day like your father and not even hear you call me dad. Right, Zhou Ziyi, fuck you. Are you crazy? What, you don't want to? Then it seems that your relationship isn't that deep. You don't even want to call me dad. Then you're destined to part ways in the future. Alas, are you suffering from histrionic personality disorder? You don't love her that much. Why pretend to be a deep lover? The phone was hung up again in a fit of anger. 4. Arguing early in the morning really makes me feel refreshed. After washing up, I prepared to go downstairs to eat some noodles and then go to the examination room. Thanks to Ji Songning's disturbance last night, my dear parents might have felt a little guilty, and they actually left me some money for breakfast. I still remember that in my previous life, I got up dizzy and cooked an egg for myself as breakfast. Because early in the morning, my parents went to see Ji Sonning off. The morning exam was Chinese. Although I had forgotten most of the high school knowledge, since it was my mother tongue, I could still manage it to some extent. I quickly finished the questions and was the first to rush out of the examination room. There was no other reason, because starting from a few years ago, almost every year during the college entrance examination, the first examinee to come out would be interviewed. At the corner of the stairs, I deliberately tore open the wound on my forehead to make the blood flow more. Then I covered my forehead with one hand and ran towards the exit. I was smiling throughout the whole interview. I said that I thought life was full of hope. After going to college, I wouldn't be beaten because of my cousin anymore. This interview quickly went viral on the internet. If I had just simply played the victim, maybe not so many people would have paid attention. But I created a contrast of hope. The daughter who was disturbed the night before the college entrance examination, the mother who hurt her own child for someone else's child. Going to college means not being beaten anymore. My mother soon became famous because of me. When she got back to the residential community, many people were pointing at her and talking about her. When I went back for lunch at noon, I happened to run into her in a fit of rage. Zhou Ziyi. What do you mean by the words you said to the reporter? What do I mean? What's the matter? Mom, your dear baby has gone abroad. Are you still going to hit me? Zhou Ziyi, have you gone crazy these 2 days? She raised her hand, wanting to hit me but hesitating to bring it down, because my father was beside her and persuaded. Forget it, the child is taking the college entrance examination, don't argue with her. Goodness. So my parents know that I'm taking the college entrance examination. I thought the college entrance examination was just a trivial matter. Besides, what could be more important than your precious Ningning, Josie? My mother's slap finally came down. Hey, she missed. I'm not stupid anymore. Why should I stand there and let her hit me? I smiled provocatively at her and said, it seems that Mom doesn't love precious Ningning that much either. You didn't even go abroad with her to take care of her. Mom's love has declined. You should work harder, otherwise precious Ningning will be so pitiful since her parents are divorced. Josie, when are you going to stop making a scene? Sigh. We little cabbages who are neither loved by our father nor our mother aren't even allowed to tell the truth. Unlike precious Ningning, even though her parents are divorced, she still has cheap second-hand parents who are eager to love her. Why can't I just endure it? When little precious Ningning is born, you surely won't want to keep me. You can just get rid of me. That would be good for both me and you. I turned around, sat on the chair, propped my head up, and looked at them as I spoke. Josie, haven't you had enough of making a scene? Where is your upbringing? My father was so angry that he slapped the table, and my mother was trying to calm herself down beside him. What's wrong? Now that precious Ningning is gone, you find me even more annoying. Then I'll just leave. I got up, opened the door, and was about to go out. My mother chased after me. She grabbed my arm and shouted hoarsely, Josie, am I supposed to feel sorry for giving birth to you? Is this how you treat me? I struggled to get away. Her grip became tighter and tighter, and my arm was pinched so hard that it hurt. My head, maybe because of the previous injury, was getting dizzier and dizzier. In a trance, I lost my balance and was directly pushed down by her. I rolled down the stairs all the way. The scenes of my previous life and this life flashed through my mind in an instant. I instinctively reached out to touch my neck. Oh, I'd been reborn. This isn't the wedding scene. There is no glass on the old-fashioned stairs either. Then there was a violent impact. This time, it was my knee that hit the steps. A sharp pain spread from my bones and skin, and then came the numbness of the pain. My white pants were covered in blood, and I curled up like a shrimp. The intense physical pain made me cry out involuntarily. My father rushed down in a panic. How are you? How are you feeling? I looked at them coldly and suddenly laughed, saying, I'm not dead yet. Mom and Dad, you need to work harder. Our commotion attracted the neighbors in the corridor. I was sent to the hospital by kind neighbors. There was a lot of noise at the scene, with the voices of kind-hearted people accusing my parents, my father's explanations, and the loud sound of the door slamming shut after my mother got angry when she was criticized. I didn't feel anything at all, as if my mind was completely blank. The blood on my leg was flowing more and more, and my head was spinning badly. It wasn't until I reached the hospital and the doctor was treating my wound that the pain from touching the wound for the second time woke me up. It wasn't all bad. At least since I missed this exam, I could also skip the following ones. I didn't have to find an excuse for myself as to why I did so poorly in this college entrance examination. 5. There was something even better. I wasn't the only one who missed the exam. Xia Yanli didn't even take the Chinese exam. He bought a large bouquet of sunflowers mixed with baby's breath to see Ji Songning off. Then he pretentiously posted a status update. You ask me if it's worth it, but you've already been everything to me. The accompanying pictures were photos of the flowers. Ji Songning's back at the airport, and the flower language of baby's breath found online, which was silent and protective love. Woohoo, so touching. I was so touched that I ate one more drumstick at the hospital at noon. Sigh. I'm just afraid that you two aren't in love enough. 6. Because of the injury and hospitalization, I didn't take the remaining exams of the college entrance examination. The reporter who had interviewed me before learned about this and conducted a second interview with me. I shed tears in front of the camera and said, I don't know why it turned out like this. I really prepared for a long time. This interview was quite long, and with the evidence from the surrounding neighbors, my parents became completely famous throughout the urban area. My mother called me in a fit of anger and asked me what exactly I wanted. Now, wherever she and my father went, people would point at them and talk. My usually timid father even rarely lost his temper with her. I smiled and said, it should be me asking Mom what she wants. Does she really want my life? As I said this, I couldn't help but think of the scenes from my previous life. She really wanted my life. At that time, she was worried that Ji Songning didn't have enough money abroad, so most of the family's money was used to support her. But our family didn't seem that poor in the eyes of others, and I couldn't even apply for a student grant. At the beginning of my first year in college, they still paid my tuition fees, but later they asked me to support myself through part-time jobs. At that time, she cried and said to me, "Zee, children from poor families take on responsibilities early. This is the only condition we have, you have to understand us." Throughout the 4 years of college, I hardly had a day of rest. I was always running back and forth between the school and the places where I had part-time jobs. I wore my high school coat until I graduated from college. My roommates couldn't stand it and gave me the clothes they didn't wear. I was in a sorry state every day. While my peers were full of youth and sunshine, I was like a stinky rat in the gutter, afraid that others would see my embarrassment. At the same time, what was Ji-sunning doing? At the age of 19, with the money sponsored by my parents, she traveled from New York to Philadelphia. When I saw that WeChat Moments post, I was so angry that I went to argue with my mother, but she scolded me in an incredulous tone, saying, "Ningming's leg is already like that. Do you know that she was so depressed that she cut her arm with a knife in the middle of the night and was sent to the emergency room? Do you really have to compare with her? Is death something to be afraid of? I've long since lost the will to live. If I wanted to die, I wouldn't cut a wound that would heal even if I was sent to the hospital late. You probably wouldn't even know if I had been dead for a long time. Josie, I'm your mother. How can you scare me like this? What else do you want me to do?" She was crying bitterly on the other end of the phone. Her tears were like a swamp that swallowed me up, pulling me down little by little to rot with her. Children naturally love their parents. At that time, I was always tamed by her way of giving me a sweet date after slapping me. Just like after I made a scene that day, she surprisingly sent me a red envelope of 200 yuan, but along with the red envelope was a long voice message. "My knees have been hurting recently, and I also feel a bit uncomfortable in my lungs. I'm too afraid to go see a doctor." She used all the means of manipulating people in her life on me. She gave all her kindness and consideration to her original family. Naturally, I didn't accept that red envelope. Even during my student days, I would use the scholarships I received and the money I earned from part-time jobs to subsidize them. When did I start to wake up? Ji-sunning was like a bottomless pit. She seemed to have to feel her own value through the sacrifice of others for her, and she got used to it. She learned to smoke marijuana and drink heavily in the United States. The year I graduated, she got uremia and needed a kidney transplant. My mother didn't hesitate to ask me to get a kidney match. She said it casually, "You can still live with one kidney, you two are blood relatives. Mom is begging you." In that instant, I woke up completely. She didn't love herself, let alone me. I will never give my life to her to use like an item. That was the first time I started to refuse her. She said all kinds of mean and abusive words to me. She cursed me, wondering why it wasn't someone like me who was sick. I woke up completely under her repeated attacks. It wasn't me who asked her to give birth to me. She didn't have any kindness towards me. I don't owe anyone anything. If no one treats me well, I'll treat myself well. I want to live for myself. I must live for myself. 7. Perhaps because of being reborn, compared to my previous life, my father has started to change a bit, but I don't need it. He brought my mother to the hospital several times, but I chased them away every time. As soon as he came, I would make a huge scene like a madman. "Haven't you hurt me enough? Now my college entrance examination is ruined. Are you satisfied?" They didn't like it when I mentioned this, so I deliberately brought it up. "Josie, I'm your mother. Are you going to blame me?" There it was again, always this sentence. In my previous life, when I didn't donate my kidney, they sold the house just to have more money for Ji-sunning. Then they came to me penniless and said, "Josie, it doesn't matter. You live your good life. We don't have that kind of luck." I couldn't stand it anymore and laughed out of anger, saying, "How dare I blame Mom? My mom is the best mom in the world. She let me experience a unique slave's life. My mom is the kindest mom in the world. Mom, I'm afraid my life isn't enough for you to mess with. While you're still young, you should have more children quickly. Otherwise, precious Ningning will be so pitiful without a nanny and a slave in the future." Josie. She raised her hand to hit me. I covered my mouth and continued to laugh at her, saying, "What's wrong, Mom? Did I hit the mark? Oh, so you deliberately ruined my college entrance examination because you were afraid that I would spend money on studying or that I would be difficult to control in the future and wouldn't be your slave anymore, right?" Goodness, Mom really put a lot of thought into it. I'm really touched by Mom's love for precious Ningning every moment. God, open your eyes. Why didn't you let Mom and precious Ningning be real mother and daughter? The slap didn't come down. My father stopped her firmly. Amazing. It's amazing. My father can stop her now. the world has changed. I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt. After finally catching my breath, I continued, Mom, hit me. I know I mentioned precious Ningning again and touched Mom's sore spot. Josie, what have I done to you? Did I give birth to you and still owe you something? How could Mom owe me anything? It's me who owes Mom. It's my fault. I shouldn't have failed to strangle myself in Mom's womb. I was so naive that I dared to be born from Mom's womb and made Mom's precious Ningning feel wronged. But Mom, I've already sacrificed my college entrance examination for the noble precious Ningning. And I've been her slave and nanny for so many years. Isn't that enough? Precious Ningning is so noble. How can a slave like me serve her well? Let me give Mom an idea. Having children is a business. You should make it big and strong and have more children. Then you'll have more income from collecting debts in the future, and precious Ningning will be even happier. Zee, that's enough. This result today isn't what your mother and I wanted either. What can you gain by constantly attacking your mother like this? Dad, you spoke too late. You should have scolded me earlier. If you're a son-in-law who lives with your wife's family, you should have the awareness that your child is a slave of the G family, and the money you earn and even yourself belong to the G family. Now, wake up quickly and help the G family have more slaves and nannies as soon as possible. Remember to control it and don't have sons. Sons are not as easy to control as daughters. Anyway, you really should have a sense of crisis. What will you do if they kick you out of the house in the future? I'm really worried. Forget it. We won't talk to you anymore. You're completely out of control now. Hee. They left just like that. Sigh. It seems that Mom and Dad aren't that scary after all. So what on earth was I afraid of in my previous life? And why did I hesitate to take that first step? 8. It takes 100 days to recover from an injury to the muscles and bones. After staying in the hospital for a week, I limped out of the hospital. I went back to our rural hometown. There was 12,000 yuan hidden in the adobe bricks there. It was left to me by my grandmother before she died. She was very far-sighted and worried that I would have a hard time after she was gone. The little old lady really loved me. She would take a long bus ride to come and see me at home. She even gave Ji Sanning pocket money to please her. Fearing that Ji Sanning would bully me, I pried open the adobe bricks under the bed and took out the money wrapped in layer after layer of handkerchiefs. Tears welled up in my eyes. Sigh, why couldn't I have been reborn earlier? She didn't even get to enjoy the good things I could have given her in my previous life. I also survived with this money. I used it to buy goods and set up a street stall in college, but it was only enough for food and clothing. I was afraid that if I opened an online store, I would lose all the capital and wouldn't be able to survive. It's not so troublesome in this life. After all, being reborn gives me some information advantage. I have some research on stocks, and I have an impression of most of the stocks that have skyrocketed in recent years. I took my ID card, went to the bank to open a bank card, and bought a relatively good second-hand phone online. Before the start of my repeat year of high school, that sum of money had grown to over 270,000 yuan. Suddenly, I felt more confident. It's so nice. Money gives courage to the timid. At this time, in order to make me yield, my mother hadn't given me a single penny for 2 full months. I was happy to be at ease and directly went back to my grandmother's old house to live. When my father came back from a business trip, he asked me how I had been living during this period. What? Are you curious about why I'm still not dead, dear father? Z, can you not be so sharp? Dad didn't know. Ouch. Dad never knows. If I really starved to death and the grass on my grave was 3 meters high, Dad might even cry at the wrong grave. Forget it. I don't want to argue about this with you. What are you going to do next? Repeating high school also needs money. Stop arguing with your mother. As he said this, he was about to give me money. I quickly jumped far away. Hey, no way. I won't take it. I'm not taking it. You two are more ruthless than loan sharks. You'll ask me to pay with my life later. I don't dare to take it. Besides, this is Xiaobaoning's money. I don't even dare to look at it. Josie, how long are you going to keep making a scene? Without money, how on earth have you been living these days? Do you only think to ask me how I've been living now? Don't you know? Now the whole city knows that I'm worse off than an orphan. Orphans get a 200 yuan state subsidy every month. Everyone pities me. I just take a bowl out every day, and someone will have mercy and give me food. The more I talked, the uglier his face became. In the end, there was actually a glimmer of guilt in his eyes. Unfortunately, I don't need it. Haha. I changed the tone of my voice and continued to speak sarcastically. Hey, you know, Dad, You've turned misfortune into a blessing. Hurry up and have a few more children with mom for the G family. Now society knows that you two are having slaves for the G family. In the future, when these slaves go out and sell their hardships to gain sympathy, you won't even need to give them leftover food. This is a highly profitable business. Xiao Baoning is going to be extremely happy again. My father really couldn't listen anymore and fled in a hurry, leaving behind 2,000 yuan. Hee, who cares? The next day, I went to the post office and mailed it to his workplace. There was a sticky note on it with a heart-warming reminder. The best dad in the world. I don't know why dad suddenly changed. I'm even worried that my dear dad might be possessed. He actually wants to be a father. But dad, you have to understand your status. Do you have the right to use this money? Do you need to care about your children? You're not an ordinary man. You're a son-in-law with backbone. You gave birth to slaves, not children you want to love. If you dare to reward a full 2,000 yuan to slaves today, will you dare not serve the G family tomorrow? When Xiao Baoning resents you, then will you blame me again? What I said about someone giving me food was true. After returning to the village, everyone probably knew about my situation. Many people invited me to their homes for meals. I was really touched. It was as if a rotting corpse suddenly saw the sun, feeling warm. It was as if I had returned to the time before I went crazy. However, I didn't really need to eat other people's food. Before my grandmother died, she had stored 3,000 gene of millet in the barn for me. She was really afraid that I would starve. Before she passed away, she tightly held my father's hand and told him not to sell these millet. My father promised, and only after looking at me did she close her eyes. Not long after, my mother said that the millet would go bad if stored for too long and wouldn't be worth much, so they sold more than 1,000 gene with my father. It wasn't until my father had nightmares in a row and dreamed that my grandmother was questioning him that he dared not sell any more. After that, they never came back to the old house again. Only I came back to clean it every winter and summer vacation. I didn't want to see this old house in decline. I always felt that if it was cleaned spotlessly, it would be as if my grandmother was still there. The millet in the barn had been there for more than 3 years, and my grandmother had been gone for more than 3 years. I carried a bamboo basket to the threshing ground in the village to turn the millet into rice and went home to steam the rice. The leeks my grandmother planted on the back hill were still growing lushly, together with the eggs given by an aunt in the village. I made a leek and egg stir-fry. I also placed a portion of the meal in front of my grandmother's photo, as if she was still having a meal with me. Grandma, why couldn't I come back earlier? There were 7 peach trees planted by my grandmother in the yard. In the past, they didn't bear many fruits, but this year they bore an unusually large number. One tree bore 200 to 300 gene of peaches. My daily routine was to go to the market to sell peaches in the morning, have a meal and read books in the old house in the afternoon, and look at the stalks at night. When my father learned about the peaches, he came to see me once and praised me. Dad knows that you've grown up and know how to earn money by yourself, so you don't want Dad's money. Alas, your mother also cares about you very much. Are you being self-touched again, my dear Dad? Do you know why the peach trees suddenly bore so many fruits this year? Grandma said that you've been so kind to me that she made the peach trees bear more fruits to reward you. I looked at him with a smile. The sky in the afternoon was frighteningly yellow. The tree shadows were dancing, and unknown birds were screaming in the distance. He looked at the old house in panic, left with a Dad still has something to do and left, afraid of ghosts. I'm not afraid, I really want to see one, otherwise, it's too lonely to be alone in the world. 9. Soon, the new semester started. My situation was rather special. Although I didn't take the college entrance examination, my previous mock test and final exam scores were okay. The school teachers took the initiative to find me. On the one hand, they said they could waive my tuition fees, and on the other hand, they could also sponsor my living expenses. I refused and asked the teachers to give them to those who needed them. They asked me how I would make a living. So I made up a story that I had bought a scratch-off lottery ticket and won 100,000 yuan, because if I said it was from stocks, there would definitely be a lot more explanations. The teacher was very touched by my actions and told me to keep my lottery winning a secret, because she probably also knew about what had happened during the college entrance examination. In the end, the tuition fee was waived, and the living expense sponsorship was given to another classmate from a poor family. As soon as the school started, I saw Xia Yanli in the new class. as the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. He walked straight towards me, knocked on my desk, and said, "Come out, I have something to tell you." "Why, just because you ask me to go out, I will." I rolled my eyes at him. "Fine, if you want to talk here and don't care about losing face, that's okay, you're a girl yourself. Aren't you conscience-stricken for ruining another girl's reputation?" Why should someone be conscience-stricken, just for telling the truth? The person who takes over someone else's place without permission isn't conscience-stricken. The person who disturbs a student who is about to take the college entrance examination in the middle of the night isn't conscience-stricken. The person who takes all the advantages and has no shame isn't conscience-stricken. Why should we normal people be conscience-stricken? What bad luck. Being in the same class as someone like you. The one who spoke was my deskmate, Chin-shi, a cute little girl. She might not be good at arguing with people. After saying these words, her face turned bright red. Xia Yanli's previous image was that of a good-looking and polite top student. No one had ever taunted him like this before. He was momentarily at a loss for words and kicked over the desk next to him. He turned around and strode away. When he reached the door, the owner of the desk came back from the toilet and cursed, "Damn it, who is so unqualified that they knocked over someone's desk and didn't even pick it up?" Xia Yanli paused. It was neither appropriate for him to come back and pick it up nor to just leave, so he quickly left. Chin-shi and I went to help pick up the books. Chin-shi couldn't help but say, "Look at who runs fast, it's him." During the year of repeating high school, my life was actually quite ordinary. I wasn't very showy. Maybe it was because of my cautious nature. I was afraid that if I showed off my wealth too much, I would be targeted by bad people, and being alone, I didn't have much ability to protect myself, so the classmates even thought I was very poor for a while. During class breaks, everyone would give me snacks. Those who are willing to repeat high school are generally children from ordinary families, comparatively speaking. The college entrance examination is a very important, even the only way out. Before the end of the first semester, the income from my stocks alone had reached over 1 million yuan. At this time, there was also a crucial time point. That was the start of the FIFA World Cup. In my previous life, I heard many boys in the class discussing it privately, and my father also bought some sports lottery tickets. I only remember 2 or 3 special scores, but I remember the specific wins and losses very clearly. This year's champion and runner-up were Germany and Argentina, and the third and fourth place were the Netherlands and Brazil. There was another reason why I remembered this so clearly. Life got too busy later, and I never paid attention to other World Cups. For those I had a deep impression of, I bought a large number of lottery tickets. Soon, that over 1 million yuan amount rolled to over 10 million yuan, and because I was afraid of being noticed, sometimes I would take a taxi to other districts to buy lottery tickets. I didn't let anyone know about this money. To be honest, when this money was deposited into my card, my hands were shaking. In both my previous life and this life combined, I had never seen so much money. With money, many things became much more convenient. For high school knowledge, I specially hired famous teachers for tutoring, and for some classes, I took them with my classmates in the class. I told everyone that it was sponsored by kind-hearted people, of course. For the sake of his self-esteem, Xia Yanli wouldn't take classes with us, and he looked very busy every day. I heard from my classmates that he was working part-time every day now. He wanted to save money to go and see Ji Songning during the winter vacation. No matter how smart a person is, if he doesn't cherish his talent, God will take it back. He dropped from being in the top 10 of the grade to being outside the top 100. Soon, the winter vacation arrived, excluding the tutoring time. We only had about 10 days of rest. Of course, Xia Yanli didn't get to see Ji Songning. His family was already very opposed to the fact that Xia Yanli gave up the college entrance examination last time. Naturally, they wouldn't give him extra money to let him go for love. And most of the money he earned from his part-time jobs was either sent to Ji Songning because he was worried that she wasn't doing well or used to buy her gifts as surprises. He was already in debt, so naturally he didn't save up enough money for the plane ticket. 10. During the winter vacation break, our previous classmates came back. Everyone also held a class reunion. While singing in the KTV, a classmate I had little interaction with in the past suddenly stuffed a card into my hand. I was stunned on the spot. The one who stuffed the card into me was Qing Yanchuan, the top student in the grade. In my impression, I had hardly talked to him a few times, And he seemed to be good friends with Xia Yanli. They were together. I smiled politely and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but I'm not that strapped for cash." I didn't want to have such involvement. In my previous life, at first, I was actually quite concerned about the fact that Xia Yanli and Ji Songning were about to get together. At first, I never thought that I would be with him, but I had a crush on him. When I was in high school, my living expenses were very little. My mother had precisely calculated how much money I should spend. The money I had at school was only enough to buy vegetarian dishes. Sometimes, when I didn't bring sanitary pads from home in time during my period, after swiping my meal card, I couldn't even afford vegetarian dishes. At that time I was really hungry and really craving meat. I would even secretly go to a restaurant to wash dishes in order to get a meal with meat, and I could also earn 10 yuan per hour. I didn't dare to touch the money my grandmother left at all. It's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. I was afraid that once I started using it, I would unknowingly use it all up. I had to go to college. What if they didn't pay my tuition fees? So I endured it all the time until one day I suddenly found that every month, several hundred yuan would suddenly be added to my meal card. At first, I thought it was a poverty subsidy from the school to protect our self-esteem, and I thought I had to study even harder. That sum of money really made my life much better, until one day, I returned to the classroom early and saw Xia Yanli stealing my meal card from my desk. I was so angry at that time. I thought I was so poor. And did he have no conscience? I originally wanted to secretly follow him to catch him in the act, but I saw him recharge 500 yuan into that meal card. It's hard to describe my feelings at that time. I was completely stunned there. In my past life, apart from my grandmother, I never thought that anyone would treat me like this. Those feelings just grew unconsciously. Later, when I found out about his relationship with Ji Songning, I was actually a bit sad, but because of this, my tolerance for him was getting higher and higher. I acted as a messenger in their relationship. He asked me to take good care of Ji Songning, and I did. When Ji Songning was sick, I cooked porridge for her, helped her wash clothes, and explained homework to her. Even my mother praised me for doing a good job. That was when I was at my lowest self-esteem. For a while, I even hoped that he hadn't transferred that money, so that I wouldn't have to bear such moral pressure. I always felt that I should repay him, later. When he and Ji Songning separated, he was extremely depressed. He was drunk every day and unconscious. It was also me who, after my part-time job, sent him home late at night and tried every means to encourage and help him. After being reborn, I wanted to end this karma. I gave him 10,000 yuan. He was a bit stunned at first. I directly mentioned the meal card incident. He remained silent and didn't say anything, but he also didn't take the money. Later, when he and Ji Songning got together, his finances became more and more strained. I seized the right moment and offered that sum of money. He clenched his fists and finally said, "I'll consider this a loan. I'll pay you back later." There won't be a later. This person won't have any relationship with me in the future. 11. She knew about the meal card incident, but she always thought the money might not be Xia Yanli's. I thought, if it wasn't his, he wouldn't have kept silent about it. When Qing Yanchuan handed me the card, she was right beside me. She deliberately said loudly, "Hey, Re doesn't need it." Hey, last time, Xia Yanli secretly transferred money into her card and she found out. She even returned it many times over. What? That money wasn't his. It was Yanchuan who asked him to put it in the meal card. A boy beside Qing Yanchuan immediately spoke up. Just as he finished speaking, Xia Yanli was coming back from the toilet. He heard that sentence and stammered, "I never said that money was from me. The money you gave me, I said it was a loan." "Then why didn't you say it wasn't yours?" She retorted. Xia Yanli stood there with a flushed face, at a loss, seeing the strange looks from everyone in the private room. He raised his foot to leave, but then turned back and said to me, "Zhou Zi, I'll give it to you tomorrow." I didn't look at him. I lowered my head to peel an orange and shared it with Chen Shi. "Half for each of us." Xia Yanli couldn't stay any longer and fled in a hurry. Suddenly, a slender hand handed me a tissue. I looked up at the owner of the hand. Under the light, his eyes were like stars in the sky. I held the orange and didn't know what to say for a moment. He reached out and took half of the orange, saying, "Thank you." Shi winked at me and said, "Humph, you're such a guy who values looks over friends." "No, it's not like that." The more I explained, the more confused it got. As if there was a guilty conscience, Qing Yanchuan's eyebrows and eyes suddenly softened, and he couldn't hold back his smile. This was the first time I saw him smile so happily. After the class reunion, he sent me back to the hotel. Yes, I no longer lived at home. During previous holidays, I always lived in my grandmother's old house in the countryside. This time, I came specifically for the class reunion. We chatted casually all the way. He said he was sorry that he couldn't help me during the college entrance examination and didn't know how to. The only thing he thought he could do to help me was with money. Actually, he had been giving Xia Yanli more than 1,000 yuan every month before to give to me. It was just that because Xia Yanli told him that I didn't need it anymore and didn't say why, he came to ask me in person. Why, Qing Yanchuan? I remember your financial situation isn't that good either. You, Zhou Ziyi. You're so smart, don't you know why? The cool night breeze blew my skirt. I lowered my head and didn't dare to look into his eyes anymore. Suddenly, a denim jacket was placed on my shoulders. Zhou Ziyi, come on, I'll be waiting for you at Tsinghua University. Huh, no way, is this guy playing a cold joke? In my previous life, I tried my best, and the best I could get was a 985 university. I already thought I was super amazing with that. Now that I'm taking the exam again from the beginning, I'd be happy if I could get into a first-tier university. Tsinghua University. Why not say that Tsinghua and Peking University will fight over me? I frowned in embarrassment. He reached his hand towards my face. When it was almost close, he withdrew it. Under the street lamp, I saw his ears turn bright red. 12. I remember Qing Yanchuan's financial situation wasn't that good. I had seen him tutoring others to earn money before. It made me feel quite embarrassed because I had asked him questions several times. These were all his hard-earned results. But it wasn't very appropriate to give him money directly, so when the peaches in the old house were ripe, I picked a big bag for him. We were sitting one behind the other, so it was inevitable to ask questions. So every year I would give him a big bag of peaches. He seemed very cold, and I didn't dare to bother him too much. I just didn't expect. Alas, forget it. Stop thinking. Stop thinking. I still have to quickly focus on studying again to deal with the college entrance examination. After staying in the hotel for one night, when I went downstairs, Qing Yanchuan had actually ordered breakfast for me. He had already gone back to his school. It was said that he still had a lot of work to do. As expected of a top student, he's so busy as a freshman. The breakfast was all the food I liked: dry mixed red oil wontons, black soybean milk, and steamed buns with filling. I thought I should be calm-hearted. Love is precious, but life is more valuable. Especially since I'm kind of a rich woman now. Alas, stop thinking, stop thinking. After breakfast, I went back to the old house. In the afternoon, I received a courier. I rode a bike to the town to pick it up. It was a sack of books and notes, all sorted out by category. As I looked at them, I couldn't help but sigh that Qing Yanchuan's notes were like they were printed. They could be sold as top student notes. 13. While I was reviewing, I also received a phone call. It was from Xia Yanli. He asked to meet me, saying he wanted to give me the money. I didn't want to ruin my mood, so I sent him a bank card number. There was no need for us to meet. It was unavoidable when we were at school. Maybe God understood what I meant. When school started, Xia Yanli really didn't come. It turned out that the money was for him to buy a plane ticket to see Ji Songning. Ji Songning didn't wait for him and suspected him of cheating, so she cut her wrist. It was said that her hand was in the bathtub. After being sent to the hospital, she was directly admitted to the ICU. Xia Yanli went on a hunger strike at home for 3 days. His parents had no choice but to finally send him to see Ji Songning. Interesting. Interesting, more exciting than the 8 o'clock soap operas I watch. Ji Songning's suicide didn't have no impact on me at all, because my mother came to me again. She called me at night and said, "Ningning committed suicide, don't you know?" "Yeah, I know. What have you done?" "I bought firecrackers and fireworks." "Zhou Ziyi, are you still human?" "I don't know. It depends on whether you are human. After all, you gave birth to me." There was deep breathing on the other end of the phone. I quickly comforted her. "Mom, don't be angry. I bought the fireworks and firecrackers for your own good too, for me." "Listen." While answering the phone, I set off a bunch of fireworks by the riverbank next to the community. The bang sound reached the other end of the phone. Then I continued, "Xiao Baoning is already in the ICU. What are you doing now? Why don't you hurry up and take care of her? Do you deserve her? Even if you don't rush over, then hurry up and have a second child. I'm already hard to control." Why don't you hurry up and create the next one? You're not focused on your work either. How dare you rest at this time? Is Xiaobaoning's money enough to spend? Mom, I'm so disappointed in you. If it wasn't to cheer you on, do you think I would have bought the fireworks? The phone was hung up directly, so annoying. I still had so many sincere words to say. 14. More than a month after school started, Xia Yanli finally came to school. However, the story of him and Ji Songning spread so widely that a boy talked to him at noon and his mother saw it. She immediately scolded him severely. Let me tell you, stay away from him. If you become like him, I'll take you and die together. The boy was afraid that his mother would say more extreme things, so he quickly pulled her to the cafeteria. Maybe Ji Songning really needed money over there. Xia Yanli skipped classes more and more often, just to save money and send it to her. His parents gave him money a few times helplessly, but after all, they were an ordinary family. They couldn't afford to bear such a burden if they gave more. They could only let him be. Soon, it was time for the college entrance examination again. I didn't have any fear or anxiety. Anyway, the result of this exam wouldn't have a huge impact on my life. Surprisingly, my mother actually bought me a dress and brought me food. Of course, I didn't dare to eat it. She just said that I was very sensible and capable and that she was very relieved. She didn't ignore me. She really had no choice. I said I understood and comforted her. It's okay, you'll get used to it. Use me as an experiment first. When mom has more slaves in the future, she'll be more numb. Mom is a super power mom. The children she gives birth to can grow on their own without being raised. When they grow up, they'll still be good slaves. Xiaobaoning's good fortune is yet to come. She was so irritated by me that she wanted to scold but couldn't, looking at the candidates coming and going. Finally, she just said, You'll understand mom when you grow up. After you finish the exam, mom has something to tell you. Oh, I'm curious again. What kind of outrageous and strange thing would make my mother endure so much humiliation today? The 3-day exam ended quickly. I might even have developed PTSD. During this period, I also hired a female bodyguard. I really don't want any more accidents and have to repeat high school again. As soon as I came out of the exam room, the tall and beautiful bodyguard handed me a bag. Inside was a long dress from Dior and a gold bracelet. Because the day the college entrance examination ended was Qinxi's mother's birthday. Because Qinxi's mother cooked very delicious food. In the last semester, she always cooked 2 servings of food and brought them to Qinxi and me. I gave her money, but she wouldn't take it. So I took Qinxi to buy 2 stocks. Of course, to prevent her from getting addicted, I found all kinds of excuses, such as I dreamed about it and had the same dream for 2 consecutive years. I told all kinds of lies. After all, I couldn't say that I was reborn. Today is her mother's birthday. Naturally, I had to show my gratitude. As soon as my mother saw the bag I was carrying, she reached out to take it and said, You finally grew up. Mom doesn't blame you for the past. This isn't for mom. I'm not Xiaobaoning. How could I buy something that mom would be satisfied with? This is a birthday gift for my classmate's mother. You bought it for your classmate's mother but not for me. Did you show anything on my birthday last year? Last year, at that time, I hadn't been reborn yet. Where did I get the money? Besides, it wasn't that I had never bought her anything before. When I was in primary school, I saved money to buy her a bunch of flowers. She slapped me so hard that my nose bled. She said I stole the money to buy them. Finally, when it was confirmed that it was my saved pocket money, she didn't give me any apology. When I was in junior high school, I worked part-time to buy her a birthday cake. She directly threw it on the ground and scolded me for what use it was to buy this. She scolded me for only knowing how to waste money, because at that time, Ji Songning couldn't get into high school, and paying the school selection fee was a certainty. Even though she didn't live in our house at that time, she still paid close attention to her. I remember that after she left angrily at that time, I still took a spoon and dug the top part to eat. That was the first time I ate a birthday cake in my life. Grandma didn't understand these things, and I didn't want to ask her for it. She would buy me those small cakes sold by the Jean. At that time, I felt a bit regretful. I should have bought it for Grandma. Grandma seemed to have never eaten a birthday cake either. But Grandma didn't wait for my birthday cake. She left before my birthday. I looked at my ferocious mother in front of me and my emotions calmed down again. I said, Mom has Xiaobaoning. Why did I buy it for my classmate's mother? Mom, you may not know, people like me, who are not loved by their father or mother, lack love the most. I want to call anyone on the street mom or dad. seeing that the atmosphere between us became tense again. Her hand was raised again. I quickly hid behind the bodyguard and said, "Hey, look, Mom is going to take out her anger on me for xiaobaoning again. That's why I lack a mom so much. My classmate's mother is so nice. She won't hit me, won't scold me, and even cooks for me every day. I never thought I could meet such a good mom in my life. Who is she?" "The bodyguard I hired." You, where did you get the money?" "From the parents I just recognized recently." "I just talked nonsense." "Zhou Ziyi, do you have to guard against me like this? I'm your biological mother." "Yes, I do. If I could prove that I'm not your biological child, I would send you to prison for intentional injury." You. She wanted to hit me but couldn't, and she couldn't stand my sarcasm when she wanted to scold me. She took several deep breaths and finally pleaded, "It was Mom's fault before. Mom will change from now on. Mom will pay for your college tuition and living expenses. But Mom begs you for one thing." "Okay, what is it?" "Ningning has uremia and needs a kidney. Please have mercy on Mom and go with me to get a kidney match." "Okay. This is the only thing Mom has ever begged you for in her life." Fuck. Is Ji Songning playing this so quickly? My god, how could this happen? If something happens to Xiaobaoning, what will Mom do if she can't serve people in the future? Zhou Ziyi, are you still throwing a tantrum at this time? Are you still competing with her? I'm just asking you one thing, will you help me or not? Of course, I knew it, not. Then from now on, consider that you don't have me as your mom. Okay, I've given birth to you in vain in this life, yeah. Just consider that I have bad luck. I'm so unlucky. Yeah, you're a beast, you won't die a good death. God will definitely punish you. I expressionlessly took out my phone to record a video and then smiled and said, Mom is really good at scolding. It seems Mom wants to be famous like last year, but this time, I'm going to post Xiaobaoning's photo. I'll even post it in the Chinese community in the United States, alas. I wonder if Xiaobaoning will really die if she commits suicide again because of uremia. She reached out to grab my phone, but was stopped by my bodyguard. I looked at her fearlessly and said, Mom, not causing trouble for me is the greatest blessing for your Xiaobaoning. If I were Mom, I would either work hard to earn more money to let Xiaobaoning enjoy more blessings or go to worship Buddha more and try to have a second child as soon as possible. Making Xiaobaoning your real child so that you can continue your relationship. Why come to trouble me, a slave who has already rebelled? These words completely enraged her. She raised the milk tea she bought for me and was about to throw it at me. I held my phone and smiled at her. Finally, her hand still stopped in mid-air, and then she turned around and left without looking back. 15. As soon as the college entrance examination results came out, Qing Yanchuan called. How did you do in the exam? Zhou Ziyi, sorry, I didn't get into Tsinghua University. I got into a university in Beijing, Peking University. Peking University is also okay, it's not far from me. The person on the other end of the phone was unexpectedly excited. I even suspected that I had misheard, because Qing Yanchuan rarely showed fluctuating emotions when speaking. When we were studying before, I even suspected that he might be an AI, to avoid embarrassment for both of us. I quickly interrupted him and said, well, I got into a university in Beijing. It's not the one abbreviated as Peking University. It doesn't matter. It's great that you can come to Beijing. We're in the same city, so we'll have many opportunities to meet. Ugh, how can a top student be so good at making assumptions? The reason I'm going to the capital is, of course, to make money. When else should I invest in companies or buy houses if not now? However, it's not appropriate to say that directly. Let's just consider it a beautiful misunderstanding. Although I didn't get into Peking University, Qin did. That's also a great thing. Now we have connections in both Tsinghua University and Peking University. I will charge towards future entrepreneurs and scientists with my wealth. This year, my total income has rolled up to 20 million yuan. However, Qin doesn't seem very happy. She's confused, clearly. My grades were so good before repeating the year, but how come my scores in the subsequent exams were not ideal? She even suspected that I had damaged my brain when I rolled down the stairs. I was looking at the grade report with great joy. After all, I actually managed to get into a 211 university. Not bad, not bad. I'm really excellent. But she reached out and pressed my shoulder, looking serious, and said, this shouldn't be your grade. There are also people who do better in the second attempt after repeating the year. Do you want to work harder so that we can study at Peking University together? Me, I'm not eating luliumii, a kind of sour snack. Am I looking for trouble? I was very touched and then refused her. I almost died laughing. Next time, it might be even worse, and I might not even be able to get into a first-tier university. I have nothing now, but I'm very aware of my own abilities. With this grade, I guess it's probably because my grandma put in some effort from down there. As soon as I think of my grandma, my heart feels a bit sour. I quickly asked someone to build a luxurious tomb for her and burn 20 Gene of paper money for her. Before, I was afraid that others would figure out my financial situation, so I only dared to burn the paper money for her privately. Now, with a bodyguard, I feel more secure. The people in the village were very enthusiastic. They gave me a bunch of fruits and melons and asked me where I got the money. I said it was a reward from the school because I did well in the exam, and I gave the bodyguard's sister the identity of a teacher. The main thing is that when you're out and about, you create your own identity. On the way back, passing through the muddy rural roads, I endured it and decided to come up with an excuse after studying in university for a year or two. Don't show off your wealth. Don't show off your wealth. 16. I didn't deliberately inquire about what happened to Xia Yanli and Ji Sanning later, but they were so famous that I could always hear gossip about them from other classmates. Xia Yanli took the college entrance examination this time. He barely managed to get into a second-tier university, but he didn't go, and he didn't plan to repeat the year again either. Instead, he went abroad to donate a kidney to Ji Sanning. What a touching love story. I thought they would stay in the United States and we would never meet again in this life. But in my sophomore year of university, they returned to China. By then, Xia Yanli's leg was already lame. It seemed that he had a really tough time in the United States. He had no degree and no particular skill. After the money he took there was all spent, he could only earn his living expenses by waiting tables and washing dishes. And Ji Sanning had gotten used to spending money lavishly. He had lost a kidney and was living a too strenuous life, and his body couldn't hold up at all. Less than a year after arriving in the United States, he had already started taking medicine. At this time, Ji Sanning's mother had disappeared without a trace. There was no other way. After struggling for another year, they chose to return to China. After returning to China, Xia Yanli originally wanted to ask his parents for some support. But he found that his mother had already given birth to a second child and clearly told him that everything at home was reserved for his younger brother. It had nothing to do with him anymore. All these changes happened too quickly. No matter how much Xia Yanli pleaded with his parents, he only got one sentence: "You've grown up. This is the path you chose yourself. You can't blame us." Ji Sanning originally wanted to live with my parents. But the house at home had already been sold by my parents for her surgery, so, as a last resort, Xia Yanli had to rent a place and support her through part-time jobs. My parents were getting old and couldn't take care of themselves. The subsidy my mother gave was limited. Gradually, Ji Sanning's emotions became more and more irritable. She self-harmed more and more frequently. She always asked Xia Yanli if he hated her and if he blamed her. No matter how Xia Yanli explained, she didn't believe him. And Xia Yanli was constantly busy with various heavy physical jobs every day and was already overwhelmed. He became less and less patient with her. The breaking point of the conflict was when Xia Yanli finally found a part-time job in a bar, but there he saw Ji Sanning kissing a man. He rushed over and punched the man, and was soon pinned to the ground by the man's lackeys. During the conflict, someone, he didn't know who, smashed a stool down on him. His left leg was broken on the spot. Afterward, the man compensated him with a little money, and Ji Sanning directly moved out of their rented house. Before leaving, she accused Xia Yanli, saying, "Yanli, I have no other choice. I just feel that I'm dragging you down to death. This is the only thing I can do. I'm sorry for you in this life. I'll repay you in the next life." She left without a backward glance. She only left him with a messy and moldy room. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror and felt that he was so strange. He was wondering how he had become like this. That night, he drank a lot of wine, taking advantage of the alcohol. He asked Ji Sanning out to meet. He said he still couldn't let go of her and wanted to give her a gift that she would never forget in her life. Perhaps Ji Sanning was too confident. She actually thought that Xia Yanli wouldn't blame her. She went to the appointment full of enthusiasm. As a result, he splashed a bottle of sulfuric acid on her face. Almost her entire face was disfigured. After splashing the sulfuric acid, Xia Yanli rode a motorcycle and fled. It was really ironic that the money for the motorcycle was the compensation money given by the man in the bar. he didn't have a fixed plan. He slept under a remote overpass for a night. He had a very beautiful dream that night. He dreamed that he didn't go to see Ji Sunning off and completely cut off contact with her. He also dreamed that he was with that woman, Zhou Zi, in the dream. She wasn't as sharp-tongued and acrimonious as she was now. She was so gentle. She comforted him and did her best to help him. He realized that she might have misunderstood about the meal card recharge. However, for some reason, he just couldn't say it out loud, because she was really too good in the dream. Until before the wedding, Qing Yanchuan came to see him. He gave them a wedding gift, which was a pair of expensive couple watches. He was clearly very angry. But he couldn't find any words to say to him. He thought that the gift was definitely not for him. He must still be thinking about Zhou Zi. So what about Zhou Zi? Did she really like him, or was she just touched that he secretly recharged her meal card when she was down and out? Thinking like this, he became more and more uncomfortable. He always lost his temper with her over trivial matters, such as matters related to inviting people and arranging seats for the wedding. He also repeatedly asked her why she liked him. Whenever she mentioned their high school days, he would immediately interrupt her furiously. Until Ji Sunning arrived, he completely exploded. He was so hypocritical that it was disgusting. He deliberately put all the blame on her. In this way, he could convince himself that it wasn't just him who was lying to her, but she was also lying to herself. They were both equally despicable people. He really didn't mean to kill her. It was an accident. After waking up from the dream, he understood everything. What happened in the dream should be real. Zhou Zi had been reborn, but why? Why did she want to harm him like that? Why was she so concerned about it? He had to go and find her to ask for an explanation. 17. After Ji Sunning was disfigured, Xia Yanli disappeared. Qing Yanchuan was very nervous for a while. He would come to the apartment to pick me up for class every day and send me home at night. I didn't know how to deal with the relationship between him and me. In fact, I kind of hated my humble appearance in front of Xia Yanli in my previous life. I repeatedly asked myself, could I really still like someone, or was it just out of gratitude again? I also didn't want to waste Qing Yanchuan's time and energy, so I chose to be straightforward and gave him a card. I expressed my gratitude to him. It was a lingering autumn rain in Beijing that day, and the streets were desolate. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight during this period. After I finished my polite words of gratitude, he just looked at me in silence. Time seemed to stop at that moment, until he pushed the card back and said, Zhou Zi, you're overthinking it. I don't need your repayment. Then he stood up and left. I sat on the chair, looking at his receding figure, and didn't move for a long time. My heart felt a bit sour. But I couldn't tell the reason. I'm already very satisfied with my current life, and I don't want any changes. Time is the most confusing thing. Slowly, we almost forgot about Xia Yanli, until, on Christmas Day, there was a thick layer of snow in Beijing. I was looking for my car in the basement. A hand suddenly pulled me into the darkness, and then a handkerchief soaked with anesthetic was pressed over my mouth and nose. I quickly held my breath. I didn't completely lose consciousness, but I felt weak all over and my head was dizzy. I closed my eyes and didn't dare to provoke him anymore. Then, when he wasn't paying attention, I first pressed the volume button, which was the easiest to reach, and pressed it hard, hoping to turn the volume to the lowest. Since my hands were tied, I couldn't see either. During this process, I tried many times but couldn't make a call, until when Xia Yanli was driving and not paying attention, the screen of my phone suddenly lit up. I quickly answered the call. I deliberately pretended to be just a bit awake and desperately made a sound, saying, Xia Yanli, where are you taking me? You're awake. Fortunately, you're awake, or it wouldn't be fun. Then he didn't say anything, and neither did I. I kept biting my tongue to keep myself awake, until Xia Yanli took me to an abandoned factory. I immediately shouted, this is the Yunjia textile factory in Yanjiao. This factory has been abandoned for a long time. What are you taking me here for? I turned sideways to prevent him from seeing my phone with the lit screen. What can I do? Our wedding wasn't even completed, right? You once said you wanted to be with me for the rest of your life. Why are you so heartless? Are you crazy? What are you talking about? I don't understand. You don't understand. Then you deliberately made me give up the college entrance examination to send Ji Sunning off. Xia Yanli, are you insane? Did I make you give up the college entrance examination? You have a big face. Who called me dozens of harassing calls to ask me? By the way, I don't think I ever told you the specific location and flight information in the end, right? if it wasn't for that status update of yours back then, would I have done that? What I post is my freedom. Why don't you blame Pengu for creating the world? So that someone like you could appear in this world after countless lifetimes. Hee. I can't argue with you now, but you're more likable than in the previous life. Let's complete the unfinished procedures now, okay? As he was talking, he was choking my neck and covering my mouth and nose with the handkerchief soaked with anesthetic again. When I woke up again, it was when Xia Yanli bit my neck. The sharp pain made me wake up instantly. I had already been put on a white wedding dress by him. He dragged me up the stairs. I struggled violently. And the memories of my previous life before I died resurfaced again. Intense panic enveloped me. In an instant, I even thought about dying together with him. My hands were tied, so I could only take the opportunity to crash into him when he was in an intense emotional state. He was so lucky that he didn't roll down the stairs. Instead, he reached out and grabbed me, but accidentally, I heard a crisp sound from his ankle. He squatted down, holding his foot and crying out in pain a few times. I took the opportunity to try to run away, but he dragged me back. He swung his arm and slapped me. I just felt a buzzing in my ears. My vision went blurry. Why are you so naughty? Did it hurt? My heart really aches. He pretended to be pitiful and held my face in his hands, wiping the blood from the corner of my mouth with his thumb. I bit down on his hand with all my strength. My mouth was full of the smell of blood. He kept struggling, but I didn't let go. He started elbowing my head. I still held on tightly until he kicked me in the stomach. I curled up in the corner from the kick. When I let go, I spat out a piece of his skin. Xia Yanli grimaced in pain. It took him a long time to recover. It seemed that he was still angry. He walked towards me, grabbed my hair, forced me to look at him, and slapped me a few more times. My head became more and more dizzy, and finally, I had less and less strength to resist. He directly dragged me to the rooftop. He choked my neck tightly and said, let's start over. From now on, we won't hurt each other anymore and live a good life, okay? I didn't say anything and was still trying to struggle. He dragged me step by step to the edge of the rooftop. I suddenly understood his intention. He wanted to jump off the building with me. He's really crazy and out of his mind. If I had another chance, I would definitely kill him at the very beginning. Just when I had completely despaired, Qing Yanchuan's voice suddenly rang out, Xia Yanli. Let her go. We can talk about other conditions, he said as he carefully looked at me in Xia Yanli's hands. You're here too. How dare you come, Qing Yanchuan? The thing I regret the most is being brothers with you. Why the hell did you come to show off that crappy watch? If you hadn't come, how could I have lost control and treated her like that? How could things between me and her have ended up like this? Xia Yanli and Ji Songning are truly a perfect match, a match made in heaven. There are no two people more similar. They always shift the blame onto others. Qing Yanchuan didn't seem to understand what he was saying, but he chose to go along with him. So the person you hate the most is me, right? Then you should take revenge on me. Let her go, and I'll let you take your revenge on me. Qing Yanchuan, this has nothing to do with you. It has nothing at all to do with you. I shouted out of control. Tisk, TSK, you two really like each other now. This is interesting. With one hand holding me and the other hand, he threw a dagger over and said, then stab yourself twice, and I'll think about it, otherwise, I'll push her off right now. Qing Yanchuan picked up the dagger and just took a look at me, then he stabbed himself without hesitation. I felt my mind go blank, tears rolled down involuntarily. With that stab, his beige sweater was covered in blood. Hurry up and continue, Xia Yanli urged excitedly. The second stab soon came down. He could hardly stand anymore and knelt down on the ground halfway. Seeing his weak appearance, Xia Yanli pounced on him. Choking his neck, he said, weren't you so arrogant before? Weren't you so amazing? Why are you now like a half-dead stray dog in front of me? My life is completely messed up. Why should you two have a good life? Why, let's all. Before he could finish his words, I picked up the dagger on the ground and stabbed him in the lower back. He turned around in horror and looked at me. The rope that tied me up had been broken free by me, and the price was that I had broken my left thumb. The sound of police sirens came from a distance. I couldn't care about anything else anymore. I stumbled towards Qing Yanchuan. The intense pain in my hand seemed to go numb at this moment. I gently helped him up and shouted at his eyes that were about to close. Somebody, help, come quickly. I reached out and tried to stop the blood flowing from his wound, but the blood was like a river bursting its banks, and in a short while, it dyed my hands red. His eyes were about to close. I cried and begged him, "Qing Yanchuan, please, please. Don't close your eyes, okay, hold on, okay, please, Qing Yanchuan, I'm really scared now." 18. Qing Yanchuan was in the emergency room for a full 6 hours before he was out. The last time I was that scared was when my grandma passed away. Thankfully, in the end, it was a close call, and he pulled through. She came to see us several times and was so scared that she burst into tears. My body was okay. There were just some bruises from the beating, and my left thumb hurt a bit and I couldn't use much strength. On the 3rd day of his hospitalization, he could eat some liquid food. I asked someone to cook some light porridge and send it over. I fed him with one hand. Looking at my a bit clumsy appearance, he couldn't help but say, "Boss Joe is so rich, why bother doing it yourself? You can just pay someone to do it." Unexpectedly, this person is so petty. He still remembers the thing about me rejecting him before, but looking at his pale lips. Even though I'm very good at being sarcastic, I couldn't say anything sarcastic. I could only coax him carefully and say, "How can I feel at ease if someone else does it? What's there to worry about?" Never confuse gratitude with affection. You don't have a boyfriend yet. Be careful that your future boyfriend might mind. That's true, you. He turned his head away and stopped looking at me. I put down the spoon, reached out and pinched his ear and said, so I carefully asked myself, how could it just be gratitude? I like you so much that I dare not make a decision easily. His ear gradually turned red and became hot under my fingertips. He still didn't turn his head back. I leaned down gently, kissed his ear, and then kissed his chin. He turned his head back in surprise and looked at me. I then kissed his lips. "Qing Yanchuan, thank you. Thank you for pulling through. Thank you for approaching me again and again." 19. Xia Yanli was punished for multiple crimes and was sentenced to a full 20 years in prison, except for Ji Sanning, who went to see him wearing a veil. No one else cared about his outcome anymore. The crimes he committed will be judged by the law, and we are going to start a new life. Sometimes people can't trap themselves within their own limitations. I deliberately cut off all ties with the past. I don't want to recall those bad things anymore, nor do I want to make myself sharp and crazy. Regarding the follow-up issues with my parents, I also handed them over to the corresponding institutions. Someone will give them a living allowance regularly every month, and I will no longer have direct contact with them. Unexpectedly, in both my previous life and this life, I actually received an apology from my mother for the first time. She frantically looked for me. It took her a long time to find out where I was going to university. She was eager to see me, but when she came, Qing Yanchuan and I had already left Beijing. Qing Yanchuan went abroad for further studies, and I took the opportunity to manage the business in his country. Besides, I also wanted to change the environment and relax my mood. She looked for everyone she could, even finding Qin Shi. According to Qin Shi, she was a bit strange. She repeatedly confirmed with her whether I was still alive. She said she just wanted to see me once. Just once. I didn't agree. I just asked someone to bring her a message. I have already repaid the life that belongs to my mother once. There's no need for us to meet in this life. I know very little about the subsequent matters. I only know that she kicked Ji Sanning out of the house. She wrote a lot of letters wanting to send them to me, but she didn't have my address. It's too late, and it doesn't matter anymore. I will never look back. 20. Maybe because of the sudden huge emotional fluctuations. One night I had a very long dream. I dreamed of the way Qing Yanchuan went crazy after I died in my previous life. He kidnapped and imprisoned Xia Yanli. The gentle and peaceful scholar picked up a butcher's knife and tortured the person who killed me, making him suffer terribly, until the police found them. Later, Xia Yanli was imprisoned for manslaughter. Qing Yanchuan was also sentenced to prison for intentional injury. He tried to commit suicide many times in prison. It wasn't until his supervisor found out about his research on a time machine that could travel through time, then he found the will to live. I accompanied him in the dream for a very long time. Qing Yanchuan spent a full 20 years but still didn't succeed in his research. In his later years, he became obsessed with theology. He began to pray to the gods to give us a chance. He had no other way, until during an outdoor research trip, he met an old Taoist priest. The other person told him that by accumulating good deeds, he would receive good rewards. He could do some meritorious deeds in my name. In this way, I would have a good outcome. Just like that, he stopped researching the time machine and instead spent his time on other research and inventions. He donated all the money from those patents in my name. Before he passed away, he seemed to see me and said, "Josie, I have done everything I could. But it seems that there really is no medicine for regret in this world." After waking up from the dream, I looked at the person sleeping soundly beside me. I just felt that it really seemed like it was just a dream. Is he so stubborn? What's so good about me? 21. Qing Yanchuan will never tell Josie that he fell in love with her even earlier than she knew. At that time, his father had just passed away. The family's financial situation was not good. He went to his grandmother's house in another village to play. Passing by her yard, the peaches inside were big and red. Afraid that he would be laughed at if he stayed any longer, he quickly left in a hurry, but suddenly a little girl stopped him. "Hey, you're Granny Hua's grandson, right? My name is Josie. Can you help me pick 2 peaches? I'll treat you to them." When he heard that, he was immediately delighted and climbed up the tree to pick a lot for her. The clear sound of slapping echoed particularly loudly in the quiet room. When he left, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a large basin of bright red peaches placed in the main room of her house. The peaches that day were the most delicious peaches he had ever eaten in his life. Later, his grandmother became seriously ill, and he and his mother received the news very late. As soon as they entered the house, they saw that there was still uneaten fresh food on their grandmother's table. It was all the food she had sent every day when she came to her grandmother's house during the winter vacation. She didn't seem to think it was a big deal. She was always smiling, like a little sun. Later, he learned that her life wasn't as he had imagined. In high school, his mother's job improved a lot. He went to work part-time as a tutor. On the one hand, he wanted to contribute to the family. On the other hand, throughout the whole semester, he had never seen her order any meat dishes. He wanted to find out the reason, but he was afraid of disturbing her. In the end, he could only choose this method. He originally thought that he had no expectations, but when Xia Yanli told him that they liked each other, he had never been so angry before. But can love be forced? Was he going to demand repayment for his kindness? She drew such a clear line, for explaining just a few math problems. She would send pile after pile of peaches to express her gratitude. He thought, the peaches in those 2 years were really sour. Story 2. My twin sister caused a fatal accident while driving drunk. Without hesitation, my mother pushed me forward to take the blame. The entire family insisted that I was the one driving that day. Unable to prove my innocence, I'd ultimately died to clear my name. Reborn. I opened my eyes and found myself back to the day before the accident. 10 years ago. After my parents divorced, I was placed in the custody of my father. My twin sister Shuang went with our mother. Soon after, my mother remarried and took my sister to the United States. I stayed in China, living a tough life with my alcoholic father. It wasn't until I turned 18 that my mother and Shuang returned to China. They offered to sponsor my university education. After 10 years, our family was sitting together at dinner again. At the dinner table, my father was heavily drunk. My mother glanced at me with disdain as I wore a coat stuffed with cotton padding. "Zhao, do you always live so sloppily?" she asked. I lowered my head, only to see my sister's stylish leather shoes. With her legs crossed, she sarcastically remarked, "Mom, do you even need to ask? It's likely that these ragged clothes are the best she can offer." 2. My mother feigned annoyance. "How can you speak to your sister like that?" Shuang scoffed and took a swig of red wine. My mother gently said, "We came back primarily for your university matters." I timidly responded, "I have a scholarship at my current university, and I also work part-time, so there's no need." Before I could finish, my father suddenly slapped the back of my head. "Part-time work is useless. Your mother is willing to support you financially, and here you are babbling nonsense. So ungrateful." I lowered my head again. My mother then said gently, Zhao, I know you've had a tough time in China these past years. Don't worry, now that I'm back, I won't let you worry about money anymore." It was hard not to be moved. The motherly love I had missed for years seemed to fill the void in an instant. My heart's ice seemed to be melting. "Thank you, Mom." She tenderly took out a tube of hand cream from her pocket and gently applied it to my cracked hands. It smelled of gardenias. "Look at you. A girl's hands are her second face. And you don't take care of yourself." 3. In my previous life, I drowned in such tenderness. How could a child starved of love resist such overwhelming yet insincere maternal affection? After dinner, Shuang insisted on driving. I softly reminded her, "You've been drinking." She rolled her eyes at me. "I have a foreign ID card. Even if I get caught, they can't do much to me." My father, drunk and loud, bragged, that's my daughter Lin Jinbia's spirit, as courageous as your father. Xuan Xuan despised me, and even more so him, she coldly said. Who wants to be the daughter of a drunkard like you? Just drop dead, insulted. My father just grinned foolishly. Our Xuan Xuan is straightforward, not like your sister, always looking gloomy as if under a curse. After that, he kicked me. Get in the car. In the car, my mom took out some documents from her bag. Xuan Xuan is planning to return to study in China next year, but she's not familiar with many of the local exams after spending so long abroad. Zhao Zhao. Since you and your sister look exactly alike, I was thinking you could take the exams for her. I've already taken care of things with the examiners, you just need to show up. I knew this was illegal, and getting caught would also mean my expulsion from school. Mom, this isn't right, I said. My father shouted, what's not right about it? Is it just an exam? You're not great at anything else, but at least your studies are passable. Just this little favor, can't you help your sister? Mother also gently persuaded, yes, think of it as helping your sister. Just as I was about to take the documents, Lin Xuan Xuan slammed on the brakes. A man was struck and thrown a dozen meters away in the dark stretch of road ahead. In the cold night, only the headlights shone brightly. A woman's scream could be heard not far away. He's been hit, he's been killed. Lin Xuan Xuan looked helplessly towards our mother. Mom, what should I do now? The next second, someone gently took my hand. The familiar scent of hand cream wafted through. Zhao Zhao, can you help your sister? Help your sister. Whether it's taking an exam or taking the blame, I am just an expendable pawn. My thoughts were abruptly pulled back. I opened my eyes and found myself back at the dinner before the car accident. Mother was gently applying hand cream for me, her tone filled with sympathy. These years have been hard on our Zhao Zhao. I felt a chill and instinctively withdrew my hand. She noticed my reaction and asked, what's wrong? I smelled the cloying scent of gardenias and suddenly felt nauseous. In my previous life, I was deceived time and again into taking the blame for Lin Xuan Xuan. Before the trial, she told me that she had reached an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family, and I would be out of jail in 3 to 5 years at most, but what awaited me was a life sentence. I repeatedly filed appeals in prison, seeking to defend myself, but it was all in vain. In the end, I had to prove my innocence with my death, ending my 18 years in such an absurd way. I looked up to see Lin Xuan Xuan downing a large glass of red wine. I calmly stood up. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. After washing my face in the restroom, I quickly calmed down and called my mother. Mom, I'm feeling a bit unwell, I'm going to head back now. Why leave now? You could just ride back with us later, I hurriedly said. It's okay, I've already called a cab. After hanging up, I went to a nearby police station. Hello, I need to reissue my ID card, just in case, like in my previous life, Lin Xuan Xuan hit someone and I take the blame again. I needed to use the identity system to confirm my alibi. The officer looked up at me. We're closed, come back tomorrow. I pleaded anxiously, a temporary ID will do, I really need it, please help me. He reluctantly turned on his computer. I'll record your information first, but you can only get it by tomorrow at the latest. I thanked him profusely, finally leaving a trace in the police system. After registering, I sat under the surveillance cameras in the lobby without leaving. Half an hour later, my mother called me in a panic. Zhao Zhao, what should we do? Xuan Xuan has had an accident, she hit someone. I looked at the caller ID and pressed the record button. What happened? Which intersection are you at? Who did she hit? Tell me everything. Clearly panicked, she told me everything. Zhao Zhao, can you help your sister? Just say you were the one who hit him. She's too timid to handle being scared like this, I reassured her. Don't worry, I'm on my way now. I'll make sure everything will be okay with Xuan Xuan. After hanging up the phone, I turned to the police officer handling the case. Hello, I'm here to report an accident. The officer looked surprised but accepted my report. When the police car arrived at the scene, Lin Xuan Xuan was hiding in her mother's arms, crying. She sobbed that it was because it was too dark and she couldn't see clearly, and accidentally hit someone. It's all that person's fault for startling me in the middle of the night. Lin Xuan Xuan always had a way of blaming others, using it as a means to escape her own culpability. A short distance away, a man lay motionless in the street. Bright red blood flowed from beneath him, spreading to my feet. The officer walked over to check, only to find that the man had stopped breathing. Has anyone called for an ambulance? The ambulance is already on its way. Upon seeing the police, the mother and daughter glared at me fiercely. Didn't we tell you not to make a big deal out of this? Why did you call the police? I feigned innocence. I don't know why the police came, it must be a coincidence. Lin Shuang pulled up my clothes. Quick, swap clothes with me, just in case they take our statements later. You say you were driving, that you hit the person. Her tone was so entitled it made me instinctively step back. Her mother gently held my shoulders, softly saying, Zhao Zhao, Mom knows you're a good girl, you'll help your sister, right? That's when I noticed that the police had been momentarily distracted. In my past life, I was the scapegoat. This time, I refused to be the fool again. Firmly, I said, no, it was you who hit him. How can I take the blame for you? They didn't expect me to refuse. My father came up and kicked me hard. You ungrateful girl, can't even help with such a small thing. I wasted my effort raising you. The kick was hard, but I was used to it. I got up from the ground, dusting myself off. Again, I repeated, I will not take the blame. I don't understand why. Born to the same parents, they treat me and Lin Shuang so differently. My mother paused briefly, then she said, I should have considered Zhao Zhao's feelings. I shouldn't have made it difficult for her. After calming down, she made a call to a lawyer friend, likely to prepare to negotiate a settlement with the victim's family. Lin Shuang was temporarily detained at the police station. The police found her blood alcohol level to be over the legal limit. The man she hit died, and a death notice was issued. Death by drunk driving is a serious offense. It could lead to financial ruin. In the police station, Lin Shuang finally realized the severity of the situation. Tears streamed down her face. Mom, you have to help me. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. The man who was hit was a migrant worker. His wife appeared simply dressed. With the loss of the family's breadwinner, she cried throughout her statement, perhaps because of their modest appearance. Everyone assumed that accepting compensation and settling was the natural course of action. The lawyer tentatively asked, how much compensation are you considering? The woman looked at us numbly. My husband is dead. How much compensation do you think I should get? It was clear that she wasn't a woman solely driven by money. My mother began to grow anxious. I'm truly sorry for the accident. And I'm willing to pay whatever amount as long as you agree to a settlement. You know my daughter is only 18, she's still young and naive. Please, let her off. Suddenly, the woman's demeanor hardened. You ask me to let her off, but who will let my husband off? A living person is gone. What do you expect me to do? The negotiation reached a deadlock. The lawyer was out of ideas and gestured us to step outside to talk. Once outside, my mother suddenly grabbed my hand. Her hand trembled slightly in the chilly night air. Zhao Zhao. I looked up and saw the earnestness in her eyes, which frightened me. What is it, Mom? She reached out and touched my hair. Your hair has gotten long, let's go get a haircut. I shivered. Lin Shuang had short hair. She still couldn't let go of the thought of having me take the blame for her. My father chimed in, yes, go with your mom for a haircut. Look, your bangs are covering your eyes, he said as he forcibly dragged me to a nearby barber shop. They pushed me to get my hair cut, giving me no chance to resist. Watching in the mirror as my long hair, grown over 3 years, was being cut short, I suddenly realized that this nightmare was far from over. Even if I wasn't as foolish as in my past life to take the blame, I still couldn't escape being forced onto this path, this outcome. Sure enough, the next day my mother came to take me shopping for clothes. She bought me many things I normally wouldn't come into contact with, though they were typical for Lin Shuang. After shopping, she naturally steered the conversation towards Shuang. Mom has put a lot of effort into raising Shuang over the years, so it's inevitable that I might be a bit biased. Zhao Zhao, can you understand? I pretended to be obedient and nodded. She sighed in relief. I've always known you're a sensible child. It's ridiculous. A sensible child is doomed to be at a disadvantage forever. That year when my parents divorced, she said the same thing to me. 10 years ago, I was more sensible than Lin Shuang, so I gave up the chance to study abroad to her. 10 years later, the word sensible is driving me to a dead end. The victim's family is still unwilling to settle. You and Shuang are twins. Could you take the blame for your sister? Mom promises to negotiate a settlement with the victim's family. If they agree, you might only serve a year or 2, and you'll be out soon. I don't know what kind of mindset she had when she said that. Lin Shuang is her daughter, am I not? My father added, what's wrong with helping your sister? It's not like it's costing you your life. He could never know that in my past life, I paid a price as costly as my life. My mother gently said, Zhao Zhao. It's different for your sister. having a criminal record would ruin her life. You're so capable, a year or two in prison won't affect you much." The two of them, in tandem, began to brainwash me frantically. My father had even begun to pull strings with his limited connections. I knew that in this situation, resistance was futile. Even with an alibi, I would still be sent to take her place. Eventually, unable to prove my innocence, my fate would be just as tragic. After a moment of contemplation, I managed to stabilize my emotions. "Mom, give me some time to think," I said. A hint of disappointment flickered across my mother's eyes, but she soon regained her gentle tone. "I know this is hard for you, but we are family after all. If you help your sister today, she will remember your kindness. You two can support each other through any difficulties in the future. After all, you are twins, there's a special bond," she reassured me. Mimicking her, I forced a gentle smile. "Okay, Mom." When I got home, my dad was still ranting. "You spineless loser, can't even help your sister with such a small favor. What's the point of raising you? Schwang Schwang is decisive like me, not indecisive like you. It's like pulling teeth to get a word out of you. I should have kept Schwang Schwang by my side from the start." He grabbed a bottle of liquor from the cupboard and took a big swig straight from the bottle, then collapsed into a deep sleep on the sofa. I went back to my room, pulled out all the savings I had accumulated, and counted them, exactly 1,000 yuan. I packed my sparse belongings into my backpack, put on a hat, and slipped out under the cover of night. Just as I was about to leave, I spotted a figure by the door that startled me. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was my grandmother. She didn't live with us, she stayed with my uncle instead. Unable to handle her alcoholic son, she often helped me in secret. "Gr Grandma," I stammered as I approached her. I noticed she was holding a bowl of dumplings. "Zhao Zhao, it's the winter solstice today, at least have some dumplings before you go," she said. I wasn't sure if she had guessed something was amiss. Looking down at the dumplings, which had lost their steam, I wondered how long she had been waiting. "Have you been waiting for me?" I ventured. She smiled warmly. "They're chive and egg, your favorite." My eyes welled up with tears. Grandma carefully picked a still warm dumpling from under the bowl and brought it to my lips, babbling, "I blanched the chives earlier, and the eggs are fresh from this morning. It's delicious, Grandma," I managed to say. She didn't ask why I was carrying a backpack or where I was going. Under the dim streetlight of the narrow alley, I pulled out 200 yuan and handed it to her. "Keep this money for some treats," she chided me gently. "I don't need money, keep it for yourself," and pushed it back into my pocket. Glancing at my watch, I knew I couldn't stay any longer. With a heavy heart, I turned and walked away. From behind me, Grandma suddenly said, "Dumplings when you board, noodles when you alight, remember to eat." I plunged into the night, not looking back, and headed for the long-distance bus station. I bought a ticket for the next departing bus, planning to settle down somewhere for a while. Reaching into my pocket, I found a small cloth pouch. Untying the string, I discovered it was 2,000 yuan. Grandma had slipped it in when I wasn't looking. She knew everything and was helping me. After a 5-hour ride, I had left my hometown far behind. Upon arriving, I stopped at a small noodle shop by the roadside for a meal. Then, I snapped my SIM card in half and threw it away. This was a small coastal town, mostly inhabited by fishermen. I found a job at a seafood supermarket, seeing my destitute state. The owner kindly cleared out a storage room for me to use as a dormitory. Thus, I lived in the coastal city for 2 months. With the money I brought from home and some funds from my grandmother, life wasn't too bad. I knew that during those 2 months, my parents must have been frantically searching for me. I also knew that returning home would inevitably lead to a harsh punishment. But I understood that this was the only chance I had to fight for myself. 2 months later, I saw on the news that Lin Shuangshuang's case was finally coming to judgment. Due to the negative impact and the fact that she was a foreigner, both social and mainstream media were extensively covering the story for views. The case quickly became a hot topic, indirectly speeding up the judgment process. 18-year-old foreign girl drives drunk and kills, shows no remorse after confessing. Defense attorney attempts to use foreign laws for her defense. Is this contempt of court? The victim's family refuses to reconcile, vows to fight to the end. Each headline was enough to make a special report. Lin Shuangshuang's mishap became a media frenzy, exactly what I wanted to see. I watched the online reports indifferently. She deserved her fate. On the day of the verdict, it started drizzling in the seaside city where I was. The owner and a fellow villager were discussing enthusiastically. "That young girl got 12 years, she'll be 30 by the time she's out, yeah," Such a waste of her youth, spent in prison. Suddenly, they paused. Zhao Zhao, I saw the news photo. That girl looks a bit like you. The news photo was pixelated, but the lower half of the face shown looked exactly like mine. I just smiled and firmly denied it. You must be mistaken. We look nothing alike. The owner seemed thoughtful and then added, maybe my eyesight is failing me. I also thought I saw a missing person notice with a girl who looks a lot like you. The missing person notice must have been from my parents. These 2 months, they had used countless connections in an attempt to find my whereabouts. Their sole purpose was to have me take the blame. If my whereabouts were discovered, my fate would be the same as in my previous life. But now, I was no longer afraid. Because the judgment had been made, Lin Xuanxuan going to prison was a done deal. So, I packed my bags and bought a ticket back home. Upon arriving home and showing my face, my father rushed up and slapped me hard. You really have the nerve, running away from home without a word. You might as well never come back if you're so capable. My grandmother tried to stop him but was pushed to the ground. You old hag. Who are you to interfere with how I discipline my daughter? My father raised his hand to hit me again, but I firmly grabbed his wrist. He had Parkinson's from years of drinking, and I was already stronger than him. That slap just now repays your parental kindness. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. I helped my grandmother up, and she clung tightly to my hand, shielding me behind her. In that moment, I suddenly felt empowered. My father tried to hit me again, but fortunately, my uncle arrived in time and pulled him away. I went inside and packed up the things I hadn't taken before. I had already informed the school in advance and was preparing to move back into the dormitory. Before leaving, I reassured my grandmother repeatedly that I would come back to repay her once I graduated and earned money. She just smiled and told me to be careful. After returning to school, at this moment, however, I knew what my mother needed most. Mom, we can sit down and have a proper talk. There's no need for confrontation. She dropped the pretense. What do you want to talk about? There was a quiet coffee shop next to the school. We sat down and ordered 2 cups of coffee. I took out a document I had printed earlier from my backpack and slid it across the table to her. After my mother took Xuanxuan abroad 10 years ago, she established an educational institution overseas using the Chinese exam-oriented education model and made a fortune. This made their life abroad very comfortable. Unfortunately, there was a flaw. Lin Xuanxuan's academic performance was poor. Despite many years overseas, both her spoken language and grades were a mess. As her daughter reached adulthood and failed to secure admission to a prestigious university, she thought of me. She wanted me to take exams in place of Xuanxuan to secure her a spot at a top university. To promote her educational business, I look just like my sister, and we are both your daughters. You just want a living billboard for your education brand, and I can help you. Over the years, I had studied hard, hoping that one day my mother would come back for me and take me abroad, but that hope was dashed. However, in another place, I found a new beginning. Seeing her expression, I knew she was wavering. Perhaps fundamentally speaking, my sister and I are not as important to her as her career, so by targeting her interests, I had a bargaining chip in the negotiations. Give up on Xuanxuan, take me abroad, and I promise to be your perfect daughter. A look of surprise appeared on her face. This is your sister. How can you say such things? I saw guilt in her eyes. Confidently, I said, people aim for higher grounds, and I believe you will make the right choice. After Lin Xuanxuan was imprisoned, she was still trying to pull strings everywhere, hoping to reduce the sentence through continuous appeals. She invested a lot of time and money, although the lawyer had gently reminded her, the verdict was final, and appealing it wouldn't make much of a difference. I took a sip of coffee and started speaking leisurely. When you had to choose between me and Xuanxuan, you chose her because she seemed clever and more to your liking. Back when custody was being decided, she chose my seemingly smarter sister, and I, who was only good at hitting the books, appeared dull and was not good at expressing myself, so she concluded that I wouldn't amount to much, but time would prove who was more outstanding. My mother seemed embarrassed, as if I had seen through her. She quickly said, "Let me think about it." After saying that, she left. A week later, she sent me a document containing all the materials needed to go abroad. My purpose was achieved, so I immediately began to prepare. To gather the materials, I returned to my place of household registration. During this trip, I took the opportunity to visit Lin Xuanxuan in prison. She had been serving her sentence for over a month, wearing a blue and white striped shirt, her hair cut short to ear length. When she saw me, she screamed at me frantically, questioning why I hadn't taken the blame for her. I picked up the receiver and told her, "What goes around comes around." Lin Shuang glared at me with red eyes. My dear sister, she probably forgot that it was the same 10 years ago. We sat facing each other, and she knelt on the ground crying, begging me. She said, "Sister, I can't stand Dad's temper. I want to go abroad with Mom. Please help me." Lin Shuang had always been rebellious, so she was punished more than I was. I, on the other hand, was more tolerant and indeed could endure our father's temper better. Back then, I looked at the scars on her arms with a heartache. It was the most regrettable step back I took in my life. "Sister, I've already helped you once, so you must bear the consequences this time." Lin Shuang held in despair. She had grown accustomed to a life of freedom. The transition from heaven to hell must have been unbearable for her. But today's outcome was shaped by her own character. I thought she would restrain herself after moving abroad, but 10 years have passed, and she's only become worse. "Sister, I forgot to tell you, Mom has decided to take me abroad. I will enjoy everything abroad for you." From 18 to 30 years old, the prime years of life, I have plenty of time to plan my life, while she can only choose to stay in prison. And even after being released, she'll just be an ex-convict. Life is swapped. Just like that, after sorting out all the materials needed to go abroad, I went home to visit Grandma. She seemed to have expected my return, waiting for me at the entrance of the village. I gave her all the money I had saved during this period. "Grandma, I'm about to go abroad. I'll come back as soon as I'm capable of making money." Her eyes were kind, and her aged hands gently stroked the hair by my temples. "Zhao, Grandma hopes you have a bright future." Having been through so much, I thought I had become heartless, but hearing those words, tears still uncontrollably fell. Grandma pushed me gently forward, urging me, "Go ahead, your father will be back soon. Don't worry about Grandma, just go pursue your future." Suddenly, a scene from a past life flashed in my mind. To prove my innocence, I chose suicide. After my death, only Grandma, staggering, came to the prison to claim my body. She knelt beside the white cloth, sobbing softly, muttering repeatedly, "My Zhao had a hard life." I also heard her prayers, "If only I could have another life. Dear God, please have mercy and give my granddaughter a way out." The scene flashed back, and looking at my white-haired grandma in front of me, she seemed to have aged many years. The only thing unchanged was her gaze, still so tender and soft. In the chilly wind, she stuffed a thermal container into my hands. "Take some food for the road, and don't look back. The road I came by is behind me. All I can do is look forward." I turn away resolutely and leave, yet, even from a distance, when I turn back, I can still see her hesitating in the cold wind. I know what's inside the thermos: dumplings for the ride there, noodles for the ride back, filled with chives and egg. I brought all the ingredients with me when I followed my mother to the United States. Here, I've experienced everything: luxurious, upscale living conditions, excellent education, and endless opportunities. I didn't let her down, getting accepted into several Ivy League schools. Her educational institution gained a great reputation because of this, attracting many parents every day. I was displayed like a zoo monkey, over and over again, but here, they all call me Shuang. I don't care about the name, I respond with a smile to everyone. My mother now had an excellent daughter, and her attitude towards me changed 180 degrees, gentle and kind, even allowing me to do many things unconditionally. "I should have taken you abroad earlier. You are indeed better than Shuang, and easier to control." Hearing this, I just smiled. I complimented, "Of course, it's all thanks to Mom's great teaching. My mother will never know that my excellence was earned through countless days and nights in my home country, with an abusive alcoholic father and a filthy living environment. It taught me a lesson: if I didn't excel academically, I'd have no future. So, I forced myself to become better, seizing the opportunity when it came." To outsiders, we appeared as a model mother-daughter duo, yet sometimes, my mother would feel nostalgic. "Zhao. Why do I always feel you're not as close to me as Shuang?" I flashed a sweet smile. "How could that be? The person I love most in this world is Mommy." After saying it, I even found it funny myself. How could someone who has died once love their executioner? Perhaps my mother should understand. We've become the same type of person deep down, so as long as there are no conflicts of interest, I will always be her good daughter. After finishing my master's abroad, I had saved enough to become independent from my mother. When job searching, she insisted I stay in the U.S. I refused. She looked at me incredulously, as this was the first time I had ever defied her. "There are many good job opportunities abroad, and the conditions are much better than at home." why won't you stay? I missed my grandmother. Over the years, I could only visit her during holidays. She was getting older and was diagnosed with Alzheimer's last year. My father and uncle were constantly arguing over who should take care of her. Now I have the capability to be with her in her old age, so I must return home. My mother tried to stop me repeatedly. She didn't want to lose a well-groomed daughter. I coldly said, "These years, you've also made a lot of money off me, enough for me to repay you. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and no longer interact." She had the same shocked expression she had years ago in the coffee shop. Shocked by my coldness, shocked by my calculation. I understand she doesn't truly love me. She loves the benefits this body brings. Now that the benefits are settled, we owe each other nothing. Persisting, I returned home. Grandma's condition wasn't good. She hardly recognized anyone anymore, but when she saw me, she still smiled warmly and called me Zhao Zhao. I leaned next to her, hiding behind her frail body like I did countless times from my father's beatings as a child. She shielded me with her small frame. I grew up under her protection. Now it's my turn to protect her. After returning to my home country, I successfully landed a high-paying job. With absolute financial independence, my father no longer dared to shout at me. In fact, when he needed money, he would approach me with a servile smile. I found a quiet place for my grandmother to spend her old age, where the spring sun was at its best. Together, we would lie in the courtyard basking in the sun. She didn't remember much about the past anymore. Only occasionally would she mention something from my childhood. One morning, she woke up from a dream. Her eyes were bright and her mind was clear as she called me to her side. "Zhao Zhao, Grandma had a dream that you died." I held her hand tightly. "It was just a dream. Aren't I right here with you?" She smiled with relief, closed her eyes, and said slowly, "Grandma is really happy." That year, I prayed in the temple for 7 days and nights. The Buddha saw my sincerity and fulfilled my wish. Now, I desire nothing more in this life than to see you thrive. I felt a vague sense of unease. It had been a long time since Grandma had spoken such coherent long sentences after falling ill. I panicked. "Don't sleep yet. I still have so much to tell you." She opened her eyes, filled with contentment. "Grandma is tired. The rest of the journey you must walk alone. Grandma believes you will do well." After she said this, I felt her hand suddenly loosen. Death is like a persistent drizzle. There's no need for an umbrella, but the endless dampness permeates every corner of life. I wept bitterly in such dampness. After composing myself, I took care of her final affairs. After the cremation, I set up a lamp for her in the nearby temple to guide her rebirth. The monk recognized me. "Are you Zhao Zhao?" I was surprised. I had never been to this temple before. Today was my first visit. The head monk uttered Amitabha. "Your grandmother often came to our temple, carrying your photo, sometimes kneeling in the hall all day. I have never seen such a devout believer. Your grandmother must have loved you very much." I stood there, stunned. During the years I was abroad, she would come to the temple whenever she could to pray for my well-being, hoping that Buddha would bless my future. As the golden light appeared before Buddha, a strange memory suddenly flashed through my mind. It was a memory from after I died in a past life. Upon hearing of my death, my grandmother wept daily. She knelt before Buddha for many days, begging for a chance for me to have a redo. She said, "My Zhao Zhao has had a hard life, never lived a good day, and can't just leave like this without clarity." My grandmother gave me a chance to choose my fate again, and indeed, I got what I wished for. The opportunity to choose again. The day I was forced to take the blame and decided to flee was on the winter solstice. Grandma knew I was leaving, so she waited at the door. The bowl of cold dumplings in her arms was proof that she had always been protecting me. Every time she pushed me forward, she was pushing me towards a better ending. She always told me to strive for a better future. It turns out she was afraid I would repeat past mistakes, and this time, I chose the best path for myself.